Well, good morning, everybody. It's time for Morning Manna. It is time for Morning Manna, and I have a word for you on this morning. Welcome to Lent. Welcome to Lent. Today is the first day of Lent. It's not something that I have typically practiced or taught the church to practice, though we are quite aware of it. We're conversant on it. But this is unusual times, so we are doing some things that we don't normally do. Why? Because you can't expect something different if you keep doing the same thing. Yes, right. You can't expect something different if you keep doing the same thing. And so we're doing something different. We're beginning 40 days of fasting, Lent, and I'm going to explain it to you. This is not going to be so much about food, it's going to be about things that we do or don't do. So I want to get into that. I'm going to greet some folk here in a moment, but I do want to remind you, I forgot to mention it at the prayer time this morning about noonday prayer. We will be having noonday prayer. Don't you forget noonday prayer. Elder Mobley and her team, if you're here locally at New Life in Christ Church here in O'Fallon, Illinois, please, noonday prayer, and it will kick in. I see that I'm having a little bit of trouble getting out, so I might be a little etchy with you, but hang in there with me. I'm sure to clear up here in a moment. Sure to clear up here in a moment. But this morning, it's all about fast life, the fast life. Our focus is on our fast, and we're fasting forward. We're fasting forward. Why? Because we're in Lent. I want to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to get right into it. But let's greet some folk this morning. Let me put my specs on so I can see on this morning. How are you all on this morning? Good morning, Liz. How are you on this morning? Good to see you. Verena, how are you? Rhonda, how are you? Dawn, how are you? Cece, how are you on this morning? Brenda, how are you? Laura, how are you doing? Vaughn, how are you? Elder Jan, how are you doing on this morning? Arlene, how are you on this morning? Good morning to the whole Manna fam. Ramona, how are you on this morning? Continue to greet some folk on this morning. Francine, how are you on this morning? Pastor Richard, are you holding it down in Africa? Hold it down, Pastor. Hold it down. I need you to do what you do. You and Minister Annie continue to save souls over there. Shout out to my good pastor there. So proud of you and the work that you are doing. I know it's great sacrifice, but God has you. Good morning, Francina and Cynthia. How are you on this morning? Cynthia, Lenora, how are you? Joel, how are you? Pamela, how are you on this morning? Carolyn, Brenda's sister, is on as usual. Ogo, how do I pronounce that? Olgo Green. I hope I'm getting it right. Good morning. How are you on this morning? Samara, how are you on this morning? Rashonda, how are you all on this morning? Now, you already know that today is the first day of Lent. The first day of Lent. Lent was begun in 325 AD, right during in the fourth century, of course, and it was to marry up or to mirror Jesus' 40 days in the wilderness. 40 days is considered to be the number of testing and trying and drawing closer to the Lord. And that's what that is. And it moves us to Resurrection Sunday. 40 days from now, we'll be in Resurrection Sunday. So that's what it is about. It is a framework, if you will, a framework of that caused us to and call us to unto the Lord. So this morning's manna is that fast life, and we are fasting forward on this morning. The text to take away, 5 minutes or less. Let's get right into it. The text is Matthew 4, 1 through 2. Then Jesus was led, grab that, was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. Here it is. I want you to grab this. And let me give you some context of Lent. Lent ain't just some old school tradition. It's a spiritual training camp. It's boot camp. For 40 days, we step into the wilderness like Jesus, stripping away distractions, cutting the fluff, and getting real with God. This ain't about empty rituals. It's about recentering ourselves around him. You see, Jesus didn't step into the wilderness by accident. The Spirit led him there. And so it is with trials and tribulations. More often than not, God leads us. And then he says that goodness and mercy is going to follow you into it. Sometimes God calls us into the desert to develop our discipline, fasting, praying, seeking. This is the grind that builds our faith. Grab this. But let's keep it 100. It ain't easy. It's not easy. The flesh gets weak. The cravings kick in. The enemy whispers, this ain't worth it. It ain't going to do anything. But watch what God does. Remember this, prayer is the plug that keeps you connected. Prayer fuels the soul. Grab this. It's premium gas in an empty tank. You already know. It's what turned Jesus' wilderness into a place of power. So for the next 40 days, we're moving toward power. It's what turns our struggle into strength. Now, I want you to get this. Fasting without prayer, that's just a diet. So we won't do that. Prayer without faith, you're just talking to yourself. I want you to get that. But when fasting and prayer and faith link up, it's breakthrough. I want you to get that. I'll get through the three things, but I want you to get some context. When fasting, prayer, and faith link up, that's a breakthrough. It's a breakthrough every time. So there's three things I want you to grab as a result of us moving into this 40 days of fasting. And I want you to get this. I want you to understand this. And the first thing is fast with focus. Don't just give up something, TV, social media. It's not about food in these next 40 days. Then I need you to double down on whatever you have been doing once. If you have been praying only once a day, do it twice a day. If you only been reading the word once a day, do it twice a day. If you only been going to church, every now and then be regular for the next 40 days. Stop the excessive buying, the excessive things. Then double it up. Double it up. Replace it with prayer. Here's the second thing I want you to get. Pray with power. Pray with power. When you go into prayer, you have to have a conviction. There has to be a conviction in your prayer. There has to be a conviction and a confidence in your voice and in the tone. Pray with power. Stop throwing up weak routine prayers. Pray like you expect an answer. Right. Here's the third thing. Walk with worship. Walk with worship. Lent isn't just about what you lose, it's about what you gain. A deeper, unshakable closeness with God. Yep, that's exactly right. So, what's your takeaway this morning? You want to get it? Put it in the chat area. Stay in the wilderness long enough and you'll walk out in power. Stay in the wilderness these next 40 days long enough and watch that you walk out with power. I'll see you 12 noon today in prayer if you're in the area. And tonight, do not miss. If you're in the area, 5:45 light meal prepared by a chef. 6:30, we're going in. We're praying. Meet me there. Meet me at New Life. It'll be online as well. God bless you. Share the manna. Don't keep it to yourself. I will see you tonight and this afternoon. The Lord be with you. May his face shine upon you and give you peace. Bye now.